Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is John Vine, and what we're going to be talking about today is how much time you should spend studying, how many hours a day, you should spend coding, learning how to code, especially if you have a job, or if you have kids and you have other types of responsibilities. How much time should you guys, try to work for when you're learning how to code to succeed, and to actually become a full-time software developer. So before we get into the video, if you're new to the channel, my name is John Vine. What we do here is we talk about software engineering, and I try to use my experience to give you guys tips on how to become a full-time software developer yourselves. If you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. I think around 90% of you right now are not subscribed that watch, so every subscribe helps. And let's get right back into the video. So before we get into the video and actually, how many hours you should spend and all that stuff, I just want to say that, the most important thing, especially when you're starting out, is consistency. And, you need to slowly build a habit and slowly, start coding every day. If, you really want to become a self-taught developer, you want to learn how to code and eventually become a full-time developer, right? You can't be only coding once a week, I don't think. And if you can code every single day, I'm talking like literally every single day, 7 days a week, I think that's, the most beneficial for you. And I think it's honestly what is required. And when I talk about studying or learning how to code, we're talking about a couple of different things, right? Like you can be reading a book, like reading a book about coding or like some certain language or a technology or whatever, something that is, teaching you about how to code and something that is practical. You could also be actually, coding, working on an application, a project, playing around with, certain things, trying out different things on a certain side project that you're working on. And then also you could also be, watching a tutorial online or taking a course and going through notes. So these are the kind of things we're talking about. Like not everything you're doing is going to be studying to code, right? Like right now you're watching this video, you're not really studying. This doesn't count as learning how to code, right? It's actual, I'm talking about practical things that you can do. And when you're starting out, I think, the right amount of time to just spend every single day, it should be at least like 30 minutes. I think that's like a good place to start, maybe even less. If you want to spend 15, 20 minutes, that's fine too. But I just think, your first day and your first couple of weeks, right when you make that decision that you want to learn how to code and you want to pursue this career, I think that to avoid burnout and to avoid, overwhelming yourself, I think 30 minutes a day, might be like a good place to start. I think eventually you want to obviously get to more hours. And depending on your life situation, you could be spending upwards of like 5-6 hours maybe, if you don't have a job and you're in school, or, if you do have a full-time job and you have kids, maybe less. But eventually, you'll want to grow that, and we'll talk about that later. But I think, around 30 minutes is a good place to start. Now, you might think that's too little. You might think like, okay, what am I going to learn in 30 minutes? I'm literally gonna find a course to take on Google in 30 minutes, right? It's like, well, I can't do anything. Well, like you do have to understand that, you can't start with too much, and you just have to build this habit and build this consistency, right? Like when I started this YouTube channel, I knew that I didn't know how tough making the YouTube videos actually was, right? So I was going, every day, every other day, and then quickly I got burnt out, and I realized that I was taking on this new thing and, just going head first, going full. And I eventually took, a couple of weeks off because I was just overwhelmed. And then, slowly I started building consistency. I started posting less, but, actually posting and, maintaining the consistency. Like no matter what, once every couple of days I'll post. And, that's when I grew. I got better. I got better at coding than I could at making videos, and then I could spend more time making better ones. And, now I'm trying to work on, posting every day. But, I basically using that as an example. Of like, any skill you want to learn, you have to take your time and like slow roll it. You can't just go all in, because then you're going to give up. There's a high chance you're going to quit unless like, you get it really fast and, you're just a natural. But most of the time, if you just dive right in and go, 100%, not 100%, but, you try to do too much too quickly, it could lead to burnout and you just like slowly falling off, right? So at first, it doesn't have to be much, but it does have to be consistent. So if it's 30 minutes, then you do 30 minutes a day, like, without fail. And then, once you're consistent, you want to get up to a couple hours a day. I think a good minimum for after a couple of weeks, and, you've spent some time coding, you spent some time learning. I think after a couple of weeks, I see no reason why you can't spend a couple of hours a day studying. Maybe 2 or 3 hours is ideal. This should be enough time per week. That's like around 15, 16 hours per week. It should be enough time for you to, get a decent amount of learning done to really tackle a lot of things. and also, you know, achieve all your other tasks, achieve everything else you have to do. Again, if you have like, you know, if you do have more time and you can spend more time, then definitely do it. There were definitely days, you know, when I was in college that I was spending a lot of hours. Some days I was spending much less. But if I'm thinking about, you know, my time in college and how we were learning to code, right? There would basically be a couple hours of lectures a week. So maybe 3 or 4 hours of lectures, and then a handful of assignments. So maybe 2 or 3 assignments per week. And so each assignment would take anywhere from like, you know, it could take 5 hours, it could take, you know, 10 hours. And so on an average week when I was in college, I would probably spend, you know, 10, 15, 20, maybe a bit more hours per week, you know, working on my assignments. And so that's how much time I was spending learning how to code. And I think that you guys should be aiming for something similar. There's no reason why it has to be less or more. So like around 15, 20 hours, 2-3 hours a day, I think is awesome. I think that's perfect. And, you know, again, if you can do more, then do more, that's great. But I just wanted to like, you know, give you guys some sort of context on how long it took me to code. And if you're trying to learn yourself and be completely self-taught, you know, no boot camp, no nothing, then I would spend this amount of time. I think it's very important. And finally, guys, to end off the video, I just wanted to say that while, you know, spending this time and studying is very important, it's nowhere near as important as, you know, what you're actually studying. You have to consider what you're studying. You know, just sitting down in front of a computer for 2 hours and just saying you were studying doesn't mean anything if you're not actually studying, right? You have to see what you're learning and then kind of think about how to apply it. Would you be able to apply what you're learning in a real life practical situation? If you can't, then you should try as soon as possible. Try to code it, you know, implement it into maybe a side project you have, or, you know, just start from scratch and you just, you know, start working with code and build it up from there. But, you know, you really want to be able to apply what you're learning. You want it to be practical. And then another great way to, you know, how to gauge your learning is if you can explain it to others. So if you just spent, you know, a couple of days, maybe you spent a week on a certain topic, on a certain lecture, and you know you feel really good about how it went. You feel like you studied a lot. A good way to verify and get feedback on, you know, your understanding is, you know, try to teach it to someone else. If they pick it up very quickly, then, you know, you have a pretty good grasp and pretty good understanding of that topic. And if, you know, you can't teach it to someone else, that kind of tells you that, okay, you could work on your own understanding and kind of study a bit more. But that's a great way to, you know, gauge your knowledge and gauge how well your learning is going. And basically, guys, it's not the quantity, it's not the amount of hours, it's not how much you do. It's just like the quality of the time you spend. The secret to learning is to spend effective hours. You want to be effective with what you're doing. You want to, you know, actually get work done, get important tasks done, and get shit done that, you know, is really very valuable. And how do you do that? You know, you just stay off your phone and, you know, just focus. So guys, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you were kind of having doubts or having any questions of, you know, learning how to code, how much time you should spend, you know, start with 30 minutes a day, build yourself up to 2 to 3 hours. I think you'll be in a solid spot. And as always, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments down below. If you disagree or agree with anything I said, I would love to hear from you guys. As always, if you like the content, feel free to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Take it easy, everyone, and have a good day. Peace out.